Oh, I need to turn my echo. Can you hear my echo or no?
No. Uh-uh.
No, it's just me.
Yeah.
My echo. Okay. All right. All right. Take a minute here. Oh, for the social. What was your Thanksgiving, bro? Just you and your pop, right?
Huh?
How'd your Thanksgiving weekend go, bro?
Say it one more time.
I said, how was your Thanksgiving weekend?
Uh, great. Great Thanksgiving. Had the boys all week, and it was a successful football Thanksgiving week.
Oh, bro. Yeah.
It's one of the few times I can remember, bro, where like everything I needed to happen or wanted to happen happened. Maybe not everything, but
Most of it.
didn't get any help yesterday, but that's okay.
I can also tell. Bro, turn your TV down.
Yeah, I'm about to
Hurry up.
get down.
Professional show, bro. Even though we didn't start off that way,
Obviously.
obviously. It's all right, though. We are back live here talking about sports. Hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving weekend. We're back. Man, and like you said, bro, it was a quite the eventful sports weekend from Thursday all the way to last night. Which that game last night was pretty crazy. Let me tell you, that game. It started off very slow, bro, very boring. But then that fourth quarter, whew, fourth quarter
Yeah,
was
what
fourth quarter was something else.
what a banger of an end of a game that we talked about earlier in the day, thinking it was going to be. Why wasn't it flexed out? You know.
Yeah, yeah, we were definitely trashing on that, man. But let's start from the beginning. Let's start with the Thursday games on Thanksgiving, starting with Green Bay and Detroit. Green Bay goes into Detroit, and as every Thanksgiving tradition, the Detroit Lions lose on Thanksgiving 31-24. Jordan Love throws for 4 touchdowns, 234 yards. Micah Parsons, in a big way, gets 2.5 sacks. And Jared Goff, he played a decent game, but he was sacked overall 3 times, threw for 290. I believe it was 292, 2 touchdowns. What do you think about that game, bro? Give me your thoughts. I'll start with you.
I thought that Green Bay has adjusted really well. I give Matt LaFleur a lot of credit because that offense looked dead for 3 weeks. And I think that he's made adjustments that are good. Jordan Love played well. Their defense is pretty good, actually. And a lot of that is thanks to Michael Parsons.
Yeah, that defense did play phenomenal, man. They really picked it up. They kind of looked back in their form that they were in when they started the season. Although they did get off to a little slower start after that Dallas game, but they've picked it up here recently, especially Jordan Love's play as he's getting a little more consistent now that he's in there comfortable. But
I think I lost you for a second there. Can you hear me?
I picked it up right where you were left off. Yeah, that defense is looking good. Jordan Love's playing a little bit better, a little more consistent football, and they just, they overwhelmed the Lions to win that game on Thursday and keep their playoff hopes alive as well as they are in the wild card at this point as the Chicago Bears, who we will talk about later, take over the number 1 seed.
Yeah, I thought they were really good, man. I think Michael Parsons was a great addition for that team because he's a good closer. So they look really good at the right time. They really fixed some things because offensively they were looking not very good, but I think they're getting a little bit healthier. So yeah, they look like a true contender, man. They look good.
Oh yeah, they're playing real together on offense, especially now. Jordan Love, as much as you love and hate him, he's plays well in the right times, man. But it's like there's certain areas of certain games where you're like, what are you doing? What is that? But his stat line shows he's plays pretty well. All in all, great game. Nothing too much to think about is like we said, Detroit is hurting. They've got some people out. They lost to Monroe St. Brown in that game. They're also without Sam Laporta, but they can't look back now as they are fighting for their playoff lives with the team they play this Thursday in the Dallas Cowboys, and Green Bay takes on Chicago. That's another in division rivalry game where the Green Bay Packers usually dominate in Chicago, but I believe that game is in Green Bay. But be a good looking out, man. It's gonna be tough for Detroit going into Dallas though, down those people because the Dallas Cowboys beat the Kansas City Chiefs 31-28. Dak Prescott 322 touchdowns, only one early interception, but he played a clean game from there. CD Lamb had 112 on 7 receptions for a touchdown, and Pickens 88 yards for his 6 receptions. Pat Mahomes 261, 4 touchdowns, but sacked 3 times, bro. We said that the real test was going to come against Philly and the real test was going to come against Kansas City. How do you feel about your Dallas Cowboys now that they have passed those 2 tests?
They're really good, man. They battled. I think it took, you know, I think they would have ran away with that game if it wasn't for Mahomes being special.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought he played a hell of a game. I thought he was really good. I think that the defense definitely showed some fight, some grit. There's still some issues there, but a lot of that was just Mahomes being Mahomes. I think Dak was special at the end of that game. He started rough, but that drive where he found Javonte Williams and then went for the 2 point after that, I thought that was incredible.
Yeah, yeah. And the Chiefs, like it was credited to the Chiefs, still look like the Chiefs. There were just a lot of bad drops in that game, man. Like you said, Patrick Mahomes. You would have, a lot of people think, Pat Mahomes throws for 260 and 4 tuds. They're probably gonna win that game, but it's just his teammates around him letting him down, bro. The magic seems to have worn off. They're still a good team, but now they're really against the 8 ball going towards the end of this season. What do you think? What do you think is wrong with the Chiefs, man? Why do you think they're falling off or starting to slip to a fall off at this point?
I think that I think they have makeshift offensive line, dude, and I think that hurts them a lot. It seems to me like Mahomes kind of ran for his life. Um, I think Kelsey's lost a step, and I think he's still really good, but he's not as dominant as he was. So like you look at that game right there. That's the most yards and tied for the most points that their defense has given up all season. So it's almost like they're good at everything. They just can't put nothing together. Because Mahomes, like I said, Mahomes was super special, clean game, 4 touchdowns, made some incredible plays, and they still lost.
Yeah, he had those Mahomes like bro, like that. What was it? It was like a 40-yarder down to flip the complete side of the field off of 1 foot from escaping a sack, get all the way down the field, but nothing came of it. It's mind-boggling, bro. Because like last week, the defense stepped up against the Colts to win that game. Patrick Mahomes still looks special, but it's just I don't know, man. Something's off, man.
Well, I
And
think I also want to credit Dallas because I think Dallas was very smart in the way they approached their last drive on offense.
oh, absolutely.
Because they got the ball, I think, with 3 something left. Chiefs still had their 3 timeouts, and I did think they called their timeout really soon on Dallas's last drive, and I'm not sure what the thinking was on that.
Yeah.
But credit to Dallas,
They're probably thinking like, "Hey, this is where our defense might step up and get us the ball back, and we can have a chance here." That had to have been the thought process, no?
well, and and I think that Dallas's offense too. To be credit for them, you say that about the Colts. I think Dallas's offense is better than the Colts. I think Dallas's offense is the problem, and I think Shoddy did it good. I think that might have been Shoddy's best game as a coach and as a play caller.
Well, yeah, no, there's no doubt that Dallas offense is much better than the Indianapolis Colts. It's just the Chiefs did Chiefs things in that Colts game to win that game was the point I was trying to make. No doubt, like that man, there's not much you can do against CD Lamb and George Pickens with both of them or just one of them on the damn field, bro. It's a lot of work for you to try to take in and take them out of the game. If you take one out, the other one's there. The running game starts to pick it up a little bit. Dak Prescott still has Ferguson hiding around there somewhere. Turpin's starting to take off with the ball. It's man.
Man, what something that I thought was interesting about that game when I was watching is that Dallas continually killed them with the slants, dude. It seemed like every route that George Pickens caught was a slant, and they wouldn't adjust to it. And I don't know if that's partly like it seemed to me early that the Kansas City Chiefs did what I think teams are going to try to do is I think they
Yeah.
they focused so much on George that ended up leaving 88 open. And you can't forget, just because 88 had a bad game,
Yeah, yeah,
bad games against Philly, I think they focused too much on George early and they let CD go. And
right,
so, I mean, they just continually killed the Chiefs on slant.
right. No, absolutely. Hey, try to find yourself a more quieter space. I can hear some background on your end, like it's wind or something. Try to find your little
Yeah,
space.
I'm about to get to my
But yeah,
office
no,
area.
as you do that, yeah, it's just it was killer, very killer. That offense is just one of the big reasons why Dallas is still in the position that they're in, and then with the moves that Jerry Jones made right before they came back against the Raiders to fix that core of the defensive line. I mean, there's no doubt why people do have not people outside of Cowboys fans have hope to get Dallas into that playoff positioning. Granted, they still need some help on the way in there. We're not gonna know the full math till maybe like another week or so. But there is a good chance that Dallas makes this run, especially with how bad Philly's playing. They got the Lions. If they beat the Lions, that's going to be a good bonus for them. If San Francisco slips up a little bit, there's no telling what's going to happen coming to the end of this NFC race, man. But let's move on to the what became the second most shocking game because what happened yesterday in the most shocking game. We'll talk about this game first. The Bengals absolutely dominate the Ravens 32-14. Joe Burrow 261, two touchdowns, only sacked once. Still want to clean that up. Jamar Chase had 110. Lamar Jackson threw for 246, a pick, and then Derrick Henry only had 60 yards, and that was early on in the game, and they kind of just stopped giving him the ball, man. What was your takeaway from that game on Thursday night?
First things first, Joe Burrow is really good, and he changes the dynamic of that team.
Absolutely.
If he was healthy, I think they'd be running away with that division. Okay, so that's one. They're just a different team with him. Secondly, I think there's things on the both sides of the ball, the Ravens, that just speak bad. Uh, I think if Lamar's not healthy, man, and he can't use his legs the way that they usually do, I just think he's an okay quarterback
Yeah.
without his mobility. And that because that's a big game with everything on the line. Now Pittsburgh.
Are you there? Oh, we may have lost him, but I'll pick that up for him. You got that? You back?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry. They beat the Ravens, and then Pittsburgh gets embarrassed to the Bills. So how much hope do you have as a Bengals
It
fan? Is it
opens it op bro, if they can go on a run, and they've done this before, they can go on a run and pick up these wins. There's no telling that they have a shot to win this division, bro. If they win out and they keep getting help like they did this past week, there's no telling that they can make a complete run at this game.
and with Joe, that's a scary offense, man. Nobody wants to play them, they're battle tested. They have playoff experience. Um, so that's very interesting, man. That's it. That brings new life. And almost, at first, a lot of people were saying, "Why do you bring Joe back? Why do you bring Joe back?" Well, obviously, it's the right
Yeah, we
decision
see
because
why. We see why. I mean, look, bro, like they've got 4 wins. Joe Burrow's got what, 3 of them? So I mean, you see why they picked up 1 win while Joe was gone, and then Joe comes back in, and it's like he never left.
the
Like,
Bengals will prove to you why it's important to have a decent backup quarterback,
yeah,
just somebody that can win a game or two. Why? Because if their backup quarterback could have at least went 500 while he was gone, man, they'd probably be leading the division today.
they put 2 different guys in there, bro, and they amounted to 1 win combined. It's like you said, Joe Burrow just makes the world better in Cincinnati, bro. It's just his presence picks everybody up, and they when he goes in that game, they feel like they truly have a chance to win every game. And the way they played, especially with the way the Bengals defense has been playing, the way they shut down the Ravens offense early, because what it was, they scored once in the first quarter, once in the third quarter. That was it. They didn't produce nothing else after that. Lamar Jackson and the rest of his team looked completely defeated. I was super confused because Derrick Henry gets that big touchdown and they just stopped giving him the ball. I never understood that. Like, why stop giving Derrick Henry the ball? It ain't not even don't even gotta hand it off to him every time. Just find a way to give him the ball, bro. They were having trouble with him. I don't know if there was an injury or just the game plan called for something else, but it was super
And
confusing on why they did that like that.
And I think the Ravens, when I watch the Ravens offense, I know Zay Flowers is good and all that, but I think they do not have a dominant number one receiver.
No, they've got a couple. They've got like a collective of guys that are okay to good. You know.
And so they can key in on Lamar and Derrick Henry and trust their coverage in the back end when you're playing against Baltimore. So I think that definitely hurts them, and their defense just isn't that great. And granted, everyone's probably going to give up points and yards to that offense. So it's just the Ravens don't look very good, man. They had a good little run after being. I mean, they started what 1 and
They started the same as the Bengals. They only won one game, and then they lose Lamar. Lamar comes back. They go on a short run, but they started to skid out once again here these past couple weeks.
and that game could have been worse than what that game should have been worse than what the score was too, man.
Oh yeah, it could have gotten out of hand big time, but we'll see how everything moves out. Like we said, it's a big race to the finish on both sides of the NFL in terms of the NFC and AFC. The Bengals take on the Bills next week, which is another like, hey, Bills are fighting for their spot too. Ravens take on the Steelers. And I imagine it would if it's similar to the AFC South, the loser of that game might keep switching places with each other to the point where somebody falls completely out of the playoffs. But let's go to Friday. Friday afternoon, the Chicago Bears beat the sluggish Philadelphia Eagles 24-15. Caleb Williams had a decent day with 154, one touchdown, but they won that game running the ball almost over 200 rushing yards of offense. Their lead running back, Mongai, had 130 rushing yards and a touchdown. The Philadelphia Eagles, though, man, it's strange. Saquon Barkley only had 56 yards. Jalen Hurts had 230 for two touchdowns and a pick, and A.J. Brown got his yards and his balls that they wanted, but it doesn't seem like the Philadelphia Eagles, they're for sure not on the same page. They're falling apart at the seams. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background that nobody really knows what's causing it. Who is it? The quarterback? Is it the head coach? Is it just overall leadership? Justin, what did you take away from Friday's game, and how do you feel about the Bears taking over the number one seed in the NFC as a conference?
Yeah, that's the first thing I'm gonna get to is I think the Bears are for real, man. I think that's the best offensive line in football. It seemed to me that they did. I mean, they did whatever they wanted to, man. They didn't even need to run. I mean, they didn't even need to pass as much as they. I mean, they just dominated them in the run game,
Mm-hmm.
and it was clear from the beginning. I almost felt like they let their own mistakes let Philly hang around. That game wasn't even as close as the score was. I and I thought that was the takeaway of the game. We know that Philly's offense is bad and that they struggle. We know that. They're almost last in almost every category, and why I don't know. But I thought the story of the game was like Eagles are known this season for having a really good front seven, and they got absolutely bullied by the Bears. And I think part of that you have to credit the Bears. I mean, that team is what 9-3 now,
Yes, sir.
and that's a real team. Caleb Williams seems to be getting better. I think you got to look at Ben Johnson as a top two candidate for Coach of the Year. That's a real team, man. That's a real team. And on Philly's side of it, I can't help but to watch them, dude, and feel like there's a lot of. It almost seems like people don't care, man. Like it's almost like a lot of man. I don't know if that's like a hangover Super Bowl effect or what it is about them, but the offense. I mean, you're this deep into the season. I don't see those things getting fixed.
Well, I was going to ask you that because it seems like this was a problem since the beginning of the season. They haven't really been on the same page, or there's no sense of want to in the Philadelphia Eagles anymore. Like, do you think like after losing that first Super Bowl to the Chiefs and then coming back 2 years later to beat them in the rematch and just dominate them game quarter to quarter, beginning to end, do you think that took away the hunger and the competitiveness from them, or at least the want to try to win the game? Because they had these problems last year, but they were winning, and then they punctuated it by dominating the Super Bowl. They didn't barely get by; they dominated. But this year, they've barely been getting by. AJ Brown's premonition of this isn't going to last long. We're not going to be able to hold on and let the defense hold us until we barely squeak by, and it happened. It's happened back to back weeks now. I mean, if you could pinpoint a problem, Would you say it's that Super Bowl? Would you say there's no true leadership in there? What do you think it is, man?
I think it's a combination of things. I see multiple things when I watch Philly. I see like Saquon, for instance. Saquon runs. He's running this year like he's tired. I've noticed a lot of runs where he's running, and instead of trying to get the extra yards or the spectacular plays he was making last year, he's either going low to the ground to get down or he's going out of bounds. And
Right.
then you had to know that teams are not gonna after that dominant run game last year. They're keying off on him, and they're making Jalen beat them. And I don't think Jalen's seeing the field particularly great. I think part of it's play calling. But I've seen plenty of tape, man, where there's open guys and the read's not being done. So at some point, the players have to be held accountable. And Nick Sirianni, for whatever reason, and I don't know if it's because he can't do it, but he won't take over, man. He's just going to let Kevin Patullo do whatever it is. And, at some point, even Dan Campbell, they're struggling, but at least he tried to take over. Sirianni's just kind of sitting back and just letting it happen, man. I just don't understand with all that talent on that team. I mean, because there's no shortage of talent. And some of that could be due to the offensive line just isn't as good as they were last year.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're not able to bully people around, open up those lanes for Saquon. Saquon does look tired. I mean, they brought in Bigsby from Jacksonville, but he's kind of just been getting some cleanup yards and doing returns. So, I mean, I don't know, man. We'll see. They got another big game. Philadelphia takes on the Chargers, which the Chargers may or may not be without Justin Herbert on Monday. We got to see because he did.
Seen that.
Yeah, he cracked something up in his left hand. Although Aaron Rodgers played with the cast, but we saw how that worked out. And Chicago takes on Green Bay, like we said. Philly and the Chargers play on Monday. But now to my big talking point, the Houston Texans capitalize on that win over the Buffalo Bills, then beat the Indianapolis Colts 20-16. CJ Stroud started out slow, but it seems like my voice was heard through the TV when I said just get this guy in a rhythm. He's been out for a month. Stroud throws for 276, one interception. Nico Collins gets over 105 yards, total yards with one touchdown. And Indiana Jones throws for 201 for two tuds, and Jonathan Taylor was held to only 85 yards on the day. Justin, I'll let you take over this first. And what did you think about that game? And what did you think about the quote unquote controversial calls that happened in that game on Sunday?
I'm not going to focus on the calls. I think there were bad calls on both sides. Those things that just happened. I think people got to understand it's the best defensive football for the Houston
Mhm.
Texans. They don't. They're smothering, man. They're red hot. They are red hot. I think they're going to be pretty dangerous if they make the dance. Because that's the best defensive football, man. They do everything well. They do everything well. They cover well. They stop the run. They they rush the passer with Will Anderson and them guys. Man, that is just that defense, man, is phenomenal. And they started slow. They got to be at the top of the list with one of the hottest teams in football.
Yes.
I mean, they are absolutely good. And you're doing this with the injured CJ Stroud, who did start slow yesterday, but he's been off for 3 weeks. So of course, you might have those struggles. Uh, and I'm not gonna, I said it. I've been saying it all year. I thought the Colts were frauds, and I do think that they are. But everybody's going to struggle with that Texas defense, and they've showed that all season consistently.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely, man. Look, like I said, I wanted it to be simple, a simple offense for CJ. Just let's keep him on his feet. He was sacked twice. One of those wasn't really the offensive line's fault. CJ kind of just scattered himself into a sack, but in that second half, he picks it up. He starts driving them down the field. They start picking up some scores. They got to the end zone a couple times. He went 6 for 7 on third downs, which that's going to win you a game if you're converting third downs more often than they did in the beginning of the season, where they were only converting third downs once or twice a game. They're getting ahead of all their problems. You want the offensive line to pick it up more. You want the run game to keep stepping it up. Woody Marks, Nick Chubb, they're starting to see more of the ground in the openings and covering more things. And let me say this: as concerned as we were for the other offensive weapons that are alongside Nico Collins, Schultz has been pretty decent this year, but Jaden Higgins, as a rookie from Iowa State, has really stepped it up from the midpoint of the season to now, number 81 on the Texans, man. I don't know if you're watching him, but he's big, he's fast. It gives you hope for the days when Tank Dell can come back out there and you have the three of them just running across the field and seeing what they can do in the open field. Now, I want to get to something. There was obviously a there was a controversial call because I'll give them this. Something shouldn't have happened that did happen. The Houston Texans should have been called for a delay of game on the last time that they scored, which it was not called. Stroud gets the snap off. They get a pass interference call. The Indianapolis Colts crowd boos the entire fourth quarter. The entire fourth quarter, they booed because obviously it's a controversial call. You should have gotten the delay of game. They didn't give it to you. I think the explanation in the commentary was, they look at the play clock, they look at the quarterback to see if the ball is snapped, and I guess by the time they looked over to CJ, he had the ball. You get the pass interference, which there were some missed calls on both sides, but the biggest one is this one. I don't know if you can really see it. Right here where my mouse is at, that is the football. This is the field goal post, and the rule is it has to be inside the outside point of the post. Justin, when you saw this extra point, did you think it was good or did you think he missed it? Because it,
No
it
shot.
was
No
it
shot that
was
that's good.
it was but
No shot that that's good, man.
they
But
called it
listen,
good. They called it good. I mean, there's two
listen.
people standing under there, and there's a camera right there. Somebody
There's
could have.
no shot. There's no shot that that's a good field goal. Listen to me. There's no shot. But on the other side of that, NFL officiating is bad for everybody.
Yes.
So, I mean, those are just things. Yes, it's frustrating when it's your team, and I go crazy when it's the Cowboys. And I'll say it right now: there's no shot that that field goal is good. But
Absolutely, man. I mean, look, I was like, man, he missed it, and they called it good. I was like, oh, they said it's good, and we moved on. I was like, hey, you know what? I will take it.
look,
You
as
know,
a Houston fan, you take it. Look, here's the thing: as a Houston fan, you take it. As a Colts fan, you hate it. But if it was on the other side around, they would say the same thing. So I get it.
yeah, I mean, who knows?
I
It
mean,
might
at the end of the day, they
later
that
on.
is that not reviewable?
No, you can't review that. It's a scoring play.
That needs to be reviewable
You can like
because
if it was a regular field goal, I think you can. But if scoring plays are automatically reviewed and they looked at it and moved on, bro, I don't know what to tell you and the rest of the Colts fans, but they were pissed after from
dude,
that missed delay of game. Because I thought too, I was like, CJ, you're running out of time here. And snap, they let it play. They threw the flag. I'm like, all right, here comes the delay of game. Nope, pass interference.
I gotta tell you, when all that was happening, I was going to the store and I had the game on the radio, and through the radio, you just heard over even the commentary, just the boos,
Loud.
the loud boos.
Or like if you put on the closed captioning, that's all it was saying was loud boos. It didn't say what Ian Eagle and JJ Watt were saying. It just says loud boos from
I
the
don't know
crowd.
if I've ever heard that long.
Oh, you have. We'll get to it. But first, we got
Oh
to go to
well,
my biggest upset of the weekend. The Carolina Panthers knock off
wow.
the Los Angeles Rams, which gave the Bears the 1 seed. And the Rams must have flown over Detroit because Matt Stafford himself had 3 turnovers. Even though he threw for 243, 2 touchdowns, he had 2 interceptions and a lost fumble. Bryce Young still balling out, threw for 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. Justin, what happened to Matt Stafford, and did he give up ground on this MVP race with this performance?
I think there's definitely ground given up on the MVP performance when you have. I think he had 2 interceptions, 1 pick 6, and a fumble recovery
Yeah,
that
two.
I
Yeah,
think they
he had
took
two
back.
interceptions and
So
a lost fumble with one of those being a pick six.
I'm not worried about the Rams. I'm not going to hit the panic button. I think these games, especially in this NFL season, has been shown that these games just happen. And the Panthers, they're not great, but they're not a bad team either.
They're good. They're
They're a
good.
good team, and their defense does cause a lot of turnovers. So I think it's just one of those weeks. Now I thought Matthew Stafford throughout the game did look, even though he was good, he did look a little off at times. I saw some overthrows,
Yeah,
some
he looked
things like that.
Detroitish.
He
Definitely
did.
Detroitish.
But those games will happen, man, to everybody. I don't think there's one team this year that didn't have a head scratcher of a game. So I think if you're
Yeah.
the Rams, you just got to not hit the panic button. That's a decent team. You're in Carolina. I don't know what happened exactly, but I mean, yeah, the turnovers just killed him in that game. And Stafford, He just wasn't seeing the field right. I wouldn't hit the panic button. I still think that they're going to be a dangerous contender in the NFC. And I think people got to think about, the two surprise teams maybe of the season could be Carolina and definitely Chicago.
Oh,
They're
absolutely,
better
bro.
teams. They are better teams than
It
what we're accustomed to.
it goes to show when you give people time to develop and you build either you put them in the right situation or you build the right situation and you give them time to build that right situation, bro. I mean, look, he's got some little bit of weapons now. Rico Dowdell has stepped up at running back. The defense is playing pretty good football, and Bryce Young, bro, like earlier this season, he threw for 400 yards. So you got to give him that time and that confidence. They benched him last year, but I think it was just so he can like, hey, slow it down and see the field a little bit. Talk to Andy, watch him do it, see what he's seeing, and then, like I said, they built that situation. It's the same thing in Chicago. Chicago built a great offensive line, and they added weapons around Caleb Williams. And now look at them; they're the number one team in the NFC side, man. Like you
I,
said, it was just an off game for Matt Stafford. I don't know, like what it was, but he was the reason that not only Carolina was still in that game, but they won that game because they capitalized on every turnover that he gave them, and they sacked him twice. Like Puka Nakua and Devontae Adams still had a great game. Though that trio right there is one you can compare to Dallas. Of like, man, you would hate to see them, but you can't make those mistakes, and you can't make those mistakes in the same game, back to back to back, and expect to win a football game.
yeah, and I don't know if Carolina would end up in the playoffs because of that skid that they went on. And NFC, that wild card race, and
They got the same hope, bro. They're I think it's the they're hold on, look, I got it right here. They are now 7-5. Y'all are got the 8-5-1, and then Detroit also. Then you got Tampa 7-5 also, bro. So it's a 14 race, tight.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it's all
I
about
think
who's gonna have like there's obviously there's gonna be head to head matchups. You're not counting. Remember, they now tie with the Bucks. If they beat the Bucks, they're gonna win that division, and then they're in. There's no haha. There's no waiting for a wild card. Hopeful
yeah,
on the
I
road. They
think I
hope
think
they host.
Tampa, Dallas, Carolina. I think all these teams have to win out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro. If Carolina beats Tampa Bay, they win that division and they're in. There's
You
nothing
know,
there.
because
There's nothing else.
San Francisco too. We were kind of rooting for them to lose yesterday. They just went out. They just take care of business, man.
Mhm. Yep, yep. I mean, let's get to some quick other news and notes, like you were saying about you've never heard a team or a crowd boo that long. We did. The Pittsburgh Steelers fans were very, very upset with the Pittsburgh Steelers performance yesterday against the Buffalo Bills, who they looked piss poor and bad. Similar to the Ravens, who are known for their defense, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense just looked lost out there. They couldn't get nothing going on offense. They had Mason Rudolph come in for Aaron Rodgers, who got his nose completely blasted by Nick Bosa. And and what a day that you never thought would come just because he felt safe from having all these winning seasons. They started chanting fire Tomlin. Justin, do you think that the seat is finally heating up for Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh?
I think it's red hot, and I think it's time for both Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin to go their separate ways. And I don't think it's because Mike Tomlin's a bad coach. I think he's a pretty good coach, but I think it's old. Pittsburgh looked old last night. They looked old. They looked slow. They look. I mean, they pay. I think they have the highest paid defense in the league, and they can't stop nobody.
Yeah, they paid out a lot of money this offseason. You know, they went out and got Aaron Rodgers. They traded for DK and let Pickens go, and they gave DK a lot of money. They reassured TJ Watts and Hayward's contracts before the beginning of this season, and they just look bad, bro. I mean, and Pittsburgh has been like this, but they've been at least consistently good for a longer stretch in the season. But this year, they just look like you said. They look old. They look slow.
Over the last decade, you know who Pittsburgh reminds me of?
Who's that?
They're the Marvin Lewis Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh,
They have
yeah,
made the
yeah,
playoffs.
I can see it. Yeah,
They have made the playoffs the last 8 years and have not won a playoff game.
absolutely. That's a good one. Good pull right
That
there.
that is who they remind me of. The Marvin Lewis Cincinnati Bengals. They're going to be over 500. They're going to be right at 500. They're most times they're going to sneak into the playoffs. but they're just not good enough. Their offense can't get nothing going. They look old. They look slower than everybody else. They're lucky that their division is what it is, or they'd probably be way blown out of it. The only reason why they're hanging in there is because Baltimore is bad and Cincinnati can't stay healthy.
Mhm.
So that they just, I think it's time. I mean, if you think about it, if anybody else was to go that long without a playoff win, that seat would have been hot a long time ago.
I mean, you might be right, man. It might just be time for a whole new voice in there. The message isn't getting across. There's been, discipline issues outside of the receivers. You got people holding out for contracts. You got people that you never thought would hold out for contracts, holding out for contracts. Like I said, the problems in the offensive room, the
And if you
constant
don't think that them Boos have, if you don't think that them Boos don't have nothing to do with George Pickens playing the way he is, you're out of your mind.
I mean, yeah, it's a piece of it for sure, bro. But it's like you look at the whole set of the team, bro. They're playing bad on all sides. And a really big problem too. You got to look at the people above Tomlin. They did not plan for a successor to Big Ben at all. They never did. I mean, they went with Kenny Pickett because he went to Pitt and they used the same facility, and that's just who they knew. You gotta you gotta think like, bro, as a fan, wouldn't you be fed up with what's going on in Pittsburgh? It's been since 2015 that they've had a playoff win, and yeah, it doesn't make me feel any better. Like, yeah, we're winning, but we just to go to the playoffs and lose immediately. What is the point? So
Yeah, it's not even like you're getting to the playoffs and losing in the divisional or the championship game. You're one and done every single season.
I mean, no, not now. Yeah, I mean,
I mean, you
it's
haven't won a playoff game in 8 years. It's
yeah,
almost that's almost a decade.
it's been a while, man. It's been a while. I like I said, it's hard not to agree with the fans. They got fed up with Matt Canada, and they got him out of there. So if they start chanting for Mike Tomlin to go, who's to say Mike Tomlin won't go, or at least they won't part ways neutrally? But let me ask you a question right here. Now, here's my burning question: the Minnesota Vikings were completely blown out yesterday on Sunday by the Seahawks, which the Seahawks are a really good team, but to put up 0 points, that'll make you think. That'll make your head scratch and make you pay attention to the sidelines. Who do you think would in the offseason coming up? Who do you think is going to request a trade first? AJ Brown in Philly or Justin Jefferson to leave Minnesota?
Man, it's probably going to be AJ Brown. But if I was Jettas, I'd want out of Minnesota so fast. I mean, I'd want out of Minnesota so fast. Um, but all that stuff going on in Philly, man, dude, especially if they drop the division and they go one and done in the wild card round, oh man, that thing is over.
Oh, I mean, bro, but I hear what you're saying, but with what Philly does, I can see them I can see them pulling a Cincinnati or a Dallas and saying, it doesn't matter what you want, buddy. You signed a contract and you're stuck here.
I don't know because
Justin
that's a cancer in the
Justin
locker room.
Justin Jefferson, bro, why would you want to stay in that situation? And now let me and I want to make the point of not who gets traded, but who requests a trade to leave. Because look at what happened earlier today. Adam Thielen, he requested his release and they let him go so he can go play somewhere else to try to win something. And he's gonna come back and retire. But like, bro, like if you're Justin Jefferson, you've gone through a few quarterbacks, you've had some close moments. You saw them let Diggs go, and you were the replacement for him. You and Kirk had a couple of things going, but they let him go too, and it never really worked out. And they drafted another kid, and well, they had Sam Darnold, and you're like, maybe we can keep Sam, but they let him go to Seattle, and he's playing great in Seattle. And now you got JJ McCarthy who can't stay healthy or lead a locker room, allegedly, what we're reading. And then why would you want to stay there? Don't you want to win? Like
Yeah,
you're already considered a top 3 wide receiver in this league, bro. Wouldn't you want to go win somewhere?
yeah, because that Sam Darnold thing would just make me mad if I was Jettas. Because y'all won 14 games last year, and now he's in Seattle winning, looking like he's going to make the playoffs. And you've been in a QB carousel, and you're for the longest time. I mean, you're considered by many the best receiver in football.
Yes.
and you're not going to be winning anything. I mean, they look bad. I mean, they just look really bad. So I get it from the Jettas, and you could be right. It might be Jettas. I just think that AJ Brown thing. I think it really depends on how the season ends. If Philly can fix their problems, 'cause he has been getting a lot of that. They have fixed the AJ Brown targets thing. He's been getting targets and yards and stuff like that. So I don't know if that makes him happier, even though they're losing. Um, but yeah, I mean those are two good ones, man. That's a good pool. I don't.
I mean,
I would
AJ
say
Brown, bro, he had a smile on his face, and I haven't heard no complaints since Friday. He hasn't said
that's
nothing. He
that's a
got his
problem.
yards and his receptions.
To me, that's a problem. So I don't know. You could be right. It might be Jettas because I mean they're on track to go. I mean they're bad. I mean what's their record? They're just not good, man.
I mean, bro, to me their record doesn't matter because they're not in the race anymore. They're right on that bridge of they're right on the edge of the knife to be cut out of playoff contention next. And like I said, they got completely shut out, bro. They put up no points, no points.
Which is bad in the NFL.
Bad news, man. It's very bad news. You don't want that. And looking at Justin Jefferson just on the sideline, man, he's when you see a player pondering life and their decisions in the middle of a game, that's not a good sign at all. It's never a good sign. But we'll see, man. I guess I can see what you're saying. AJ Brown getting out of there, but like I said, I can also see Jettas being like, you know what, it's time for me to go. This has run its course. I appreciate the money, but put me on the market, get a haul for me, and rebuild this team around somebody else. I'm not gonna be here.
And they
Well,
could do that, man. That could be a good move for both of them.
yeah, definitely, bro, definitely. But let's get to the next big bit of news. College football had rivalry week, and one of the big wrenches to get messed up was Texas beating Texas A&M. As we thought, if you paid attention to this show, Texas was going to win that game, and they did, 27-17. Although they were down 3-10 at halftime, but Texas comes in the second half and outscores A&M 24-7, taking A&M out of the SEC championship game, setting up that boring rematch between Georgia and Alabama in Atlanta, which is a home game for Georgia, although they play in the Falcons Stadium. Justin, what did you think from that game that was on, I think Friday, yeah, Friday against A&M in Texas? Was that the scenario you also saw playing out, and how dominant it was from the University of Texas Longhorns?
I think exactly what we said it was going to be. Like you said, if they paid attention to the show, we knew that coming in that A&M has played a cupcake schedule. You batted your eyes at that. You know, you looked at that South Carolina game and you were like, yeah, something's not right here. And Texas is really good. You can't take anything away from Texas, you know, and that's one of the main points I want to bring into this is that I kind of agree with what Texas head coach said that, you know, what is the committee going to decide to do? Are you going to show people? Because I've said this all year. You know, as good as Ohio State is, and we know that they're a good team, and they might win it all, but their schedule is not okay. You know, A&M schedule, that's not okay. You know, Texas at least went out there, man. And yeah, they lost to Florida, and that's what's the killer. But I mean, they beat Oklahoma. They got the most top 10 wins in the country this year. They had the best college football schedule. So that's a hard schedule to play. You know, you go out and you start the season off with Ohio State, who's been their most competitive game. You know, and A&M, when they run it, you know, how do you not play Ole Miss, Georgia, Bama? How do you not play those games? You know, and so now when you run up against a good team, we're going to find out who you are. And they were dominated. I mean, they didn't even look at by the end of that game, you say, yeah, they're not even on the same level.
Yes, yes, I completely agree with that assessment, man. And just like Coach Sark said, man, is it not about putting the best teams in the playoff who play the best teams, or do you want to put a team in that padded their record and they look good because they played nobody? Now, that was one of the wrenches that were thrown into this mix. Now, before we get to the big headline news, I have the predictions for the college football playoff bracket, which comes out tomorrow, and we'll review that too. But if you're looking right now, there is a team missing completely because, and they were a projected conference champion, but they are now out because of some tiebreakers that happened over in the ACC. The University of Virginia is now projected to take that spot in the ACC because Duke will play Virginia in the ACC championship due to some their record. They have 5 losses, but they are 6-2 in the ACC. They had some tiebreakers give them a break and take over that spot from Miami. Where now Miami's completely out, no shot to make it in. Justin, I want to ask you this, and this leads into what I'm going to make my next point for Texas to try to make it in. Hypothetically, if Duke beats Virginia, and I understand it's highest ranked conference champion, but if Duke, who has a mid to even record, would they let a 5 loss Duke in as a conference champion over Texas, or would you think we got to put Texas in if Duke wins the ACC?
I got to think about it from my point of view. I don't know what the committee would do, but if Duke was to beat Virginia, there's no way that you can put a Duke in over Texas. I mean, what are we even talking about? This should be a home run shot. I don't think Virginia deserves to be in over Texas.
Mhm.
So you're going to mean to tell me if Duke wins, you're going to have Duke and Tulane in over Texas?
And that's another one because I want to before you keep going right now. Tulane plays a white hot North Texas team. They've been under the radar. They haven't really played nobody, but the betting lines for that game on both sides. There's sites that have North Texas favored and there's sites that have Tulane favored. So it's going to be interesting to see what that line comes out for this weekend's game with Tulane and North Texas. But back to your point with Virginia and Duke.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand why you would do that. Like I said, I'm on the fence of I think Texas deserves to be in. I think they've beaten enough people. I think they have a good enough resume to be in.
Mhm.
I just don't see why you would even consider putting them like a Duke in over at Texas. I don't get it.
Right, absolutely, man. And then, finally, the last monkey wrench that got thrown into all of this. Lane Kiffin, after winning the Egg Bowl, finishing out the season, announced yesterday that he was taking over the LSU coaching job. He is being paid. It is a 7-year, $13 million deal for 91 million total. Ole Miss is 11-1 and currently residing in the 5 or 6 spot. Yeah, and they're in the 6, 7 spot in the college football bracket. Pete Golding, the defensive coordinator, takes over for the head coaching job. It was quoted, Lane Kiffin was quoted on ESPN in a live interview where he said he wanted to coach through the playoff, but they told him no. Justin, what are your thoughts on this whole situation with Lane Kiffin? Do you think he said he needed to speak with Jesus, Pete Carroll, and Nick Saban, and those 3 people told him to go to LSU? What do you think about this whole situation, bro?
I think it's just, I mean, I don't know why everyone's surprised. It's what Lane Kiffin does, man. This is his resume, and I'm not mad at him for taking the job. I mean, LSU is a good job. It's a better job than Ole Miss. It sucks for the players of Ole Miss. They're the collateral damage of it. Um, but I mean, it's not surprising. And then Ole Miss, I don't even think. I think I heard where Ole Miss didn't even match the offer.
No.
But I don't know if it would have mattered anyway. So I mean, I'm on every side of it. I don't blame Ole Miss for not letting him coach the rest of the way. I'm not mad at Lane for taking the LSU job. It's LSU. It's more prestigious, man. You're going to take that job, and the money is insane.
Yes,
Uh,
$91 million over 7 years.
and Lane's a good coach, but I think it's a little overblown because I mean,
I
this
mean,
is what
it's
Lane.
because think about it, bro. Like he was the belle of the ball when it came to coaches in college football, at least, right? It's not like there was I mean, Ole Miss. There was a rumor that Ole Miss gave him an ultimatum saying you need to make a decision by the end of this regular season. There was that ultimatum being rumored around. And it's to me, it's not like Lane Kiffin couldn't have been like, well, let me at least get through the playoff and then I'll give you an answer because LSU was waiting on him, Florida was waiting on him, fucking not Penn State because no Penn State, yeah, Penn State is waiting on him. Everybody who has a job is waiting on Lane Kiffin. He's the belle of the ball, like I said. He's the guy that you want coaching your team. So to me, it's like this whole situation, like, and he tried to save face by saying, "Well, I wanted to coach the rest of the playoff. If you're the coach of a different team, why would I let you coach this team so you can keep?" Just think about it, bro. It was said, reported by ESPN, reported by Bleacher Report, reported by Pete Thamel, a guy who reports college football. He's like their rap sheet, and he said that he lined up his offensive team, his offensive coaching staff, and said, if you're not on this plane, you're not gonna get a job over here. So, and so it's like, you put him in. If he does that, bro, who's to say he talked to some players in that Sunday meeting and let them know, hey, baby, if you want to keep playing for Lane Kiffin, come on down to Baton Rouge and we'll go try to win us a championship over in LSU, because you can recruit people at LSU, bro. You can get
Yeah,
some recruiting done, and they got money. They got
yeah.
money in
Why
LSU.
let him stay there and recruit everything that you got? You cannot continue to let him coach, man. You're not going to do that. You can't do that because he's going to continue to bring coaches, players, everything, man. So there's no shot that once that decision was announced that they were going to let him, and I think it's the right move for Ole Miss.
Now,
They're still
so
going to let him in the playoffs, but how they'll do, I don't. That's too just. You're mad
that
about it if you're an Ole Miss fan.
that is my next question to you, bro. Is there a concern now because the rules state that now those players have a 30-day window as their own transfer portal when this situation happens, when the coach leaves? Is there any concern about how competitive that Ole Miss will be? Because there is the concern that there's going to be kids that opt out, star players that opt out to transfer, keep their eligibility, and head over to Louisiana with Coach Kiffin. Is there any concerns for you that might happen? And do you think, well, if it really comes down to they lose a lot of star players, do you think Ole Miss should stay in the CFP just for concerns about competitiveness? Because if you look at this prediction, they're lined up to play Bama. That's going to be a tough game.
I think they keep. I think they keep it in the playoffs no matter what, just because they're 11-1. But you got to bet that he's taking some people with him.
Yes.
I mean, players, coaches, they're going. So, I mean, that's just what that's going to be. So, I think they'll leave him in there, but I think it's very easy. I think it's real easy to see that they're going to go one and done, just because it's too much. It's too much distraction. It's too much. I don't think they'll be competitive. I think they'll keep them just because of you know the players' sake, who are still going to be there, seniors, stuff like that. But I just don't see them being very competitive after all of that distraction.
Yeah. I mean, look, to me, that, like, as a Texas fan, that was like, if let's just say they lose, a couple quarterbacks, defensive guys, their starters. If those guys opt out to transfer, why let them in there? Are they really going to be any kind of competitive against Alabama, against the Georgia if they lose? Are they going to beat Oklahoma if they got to line up against them, or an A&M? You just, it would feel like the hope was lost, and they would have to look for a new direction. But that being said, it's going to be up to that committee who would debate all night tonight and tomorrow to see what they're going to say and see how they line it up right before conference championship week. And as we get to that, I want to ask you about your Texas Tech Red Raiders, who are predicted to get that fourth spot. And me and you were talking off air, kind of debating throughout the week. Are you concerned at all? Because last year, the top four teams that got that bye week, it was a month off of football from the conference championships they played, and they all lost. They all lost in that next game. What are your thoughts on Texas Tech holding that fourth spot, believing that they beat BYU in the rematch in the Big 12 championship?
Well, the thing for me is that the projection before this one would have had you going to Georgia and Ohio State.
Yes.
So, yes, the bye week was detrimental last season, but I like it a lot more than going to Georgia and Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get a bye week and we'll play the winner of Oregon and Tulane,
Yes.
right? From this projection.
Yeah, from this prediction, you would get the winner of Oregon and Tulane, or Oregon and North Texas, because if I would imagine they would let North Texas in if they went 12-1.
And I like the Red Raiders' chances in Lubbock against Oregon or any of those other two.
Yes.
I like so
Oh no,
I
that game would not be in Lubbock. You would go to a neutral site in the next round. You would play a
so
bowl game somewhere else. So you would have the month off, and then you would have to travel somewhere to get ready for that game.
even then, I still like the road better than Ohio State and Georgia. I mean, that's for damn sure.
Mhm.
And I think Tech can compete with anyone because I think that defense is special.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
but you want the easiest road that you can take, man. So why, yeah, the bye week does concern you. But it's also my offense is a little banged up, man. My quarterback is banged up. So I mean, get them healthy at least. Morton doesn't seem to be able to stay healthy very much. So for me personally, I'd rather see the bye weeks and have an Oregon or a Tulane. Give yourself a chance to win that game, move on to the next round. And then if you can win that round, you at least got a game under you before you go and play an Ohio State or a Georgia or someone like that. And it'd be so that's I'd prefer them to stay there than the previous road at least.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Like you said, your team's a little banged up. It would be a month off, get everybody healthy, get everybody riled up, and get the plan together and be able to focus on who is going to come. It's just to me like you look at that history last year. That's a month off for anybody is a long time off without plan. You saw how Ohio State they made their run playing in that first round and just constantly playing every single game out there. They were the yeah they won the Big Ten last year and they were the lower ranked seed. So they took on that five spot. They took on everybody ahead of them. They took out Oregon. They took out Texas, and then they went on to take out Notre Dame in dominant fashion. So I can see where, at your point, where you're like, yeah, that's a month off. We're banged up. We need it, but it's like you get them couple weeks off and you can help recover, but you get the extra week and a half, 2 weeks plus travel. Mm, to me, it's fearful because like man, that's like I said, that's a lot of time off. Like we say a bye week, but that's it's 3 to 4 weeks off because those is January Big Six games, man. So you would have the rest of the month to sit and stew and watch Oregon play whoever comes up in that 12th spot.
Yeah, I mean it's
But
definitely a concern. That's a long time off.
but yeah, let's go over the conference championships as they're scheduled to play this weekend. In the SEC, like we said, you got Bama and Georgia taking each other on in Atlanta. Another. I think this is their second meeting this year. Excuse me, second meeting where Bama beat Georgia between the hedges. Can they go in there and do it again? Who do you got in that game?
I'm taking Georgia in that game. Um, I just think it's hard to beat someone twice, especially someone like them. Um, and Georgia didn't look great in their last game, but they showed they were able to beat Texas, and I think that is one of their most impressive wins. And I just think it's hard to beat somebody twice, and it's in Atlanta.
Yeah, pretty much a
Um,
home game for the
yeah,
Georgia
so
team.
it's pretty much a home game. So I'm taking Georgia in that one.
All right, and you said it's hard to beat somebody twice. You got Texas Tech taking on BYU in Cowboy Stadium, or known as Jerry World, for the Big 12 conference title. Who do you like in that game?
I like Tech, and I like Tech by a lot.
You like Tech, and you like Tech by a lot. I do like that. I like Georgia to beat Bama. I like Texas Tech, but I like it to be a little closer, a little more, not super close, more competitive than BYU was the first time. I think they got punched in the mouth early, and they just never recovered in that first game earlier this season. I think they'll be more competitive with what they see coming. Texas Tech is on fire on defense. They're starting to put Rodriguez in an offense just to give him some scores and make him look good, get him in the conversation for that Heisman. But I think I like Texas Tech, and I like them to win in a competitive game, but I like them to win by a comfortable lead.
I just
It
think what
Go
Tech does well. I think what BYU does well. Tech is elite at stopping, and I don't think BYU is a bad team. I think it's just a bad matchup. I think Tech, and I said this going into the first week before we even beat them. And Tech, you got to remember, Tech kicked 5 field goals in that game in the red zone. So BYU's defense is good, but that game could have been a lot worse.
Yes.
I just think they rely on running the ball, and Tech is one of the best run defenses in the country. And so I
Yeah.
think it's just and I think BYU's a good team, but I think Tech is just a bad matchup for BYU.
Yeah, man, you might be right. We shall see. Those conference championship games take place this weekend. The next one on the line is another home game for one of these teams in the Big Ten Conference Championship. Indiana takes on Ohio State in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil. Who do you like in that game? Both teams are undefeated. Both are on a white hot run. They've played some decently competitive games, but they've shown their head and shoulders above the rest. This game will probably determine who gets the number one seeding for the whole college football playoff. Who do you like in this one?
To me, this is the best conference championship game because it's the most I don't know. But I'm taking Ohio State just because of that defense. But it'd be interesting to see when Indiana's on the offensive side of the ball because their offense is really good. So we're going to learn a lot. Yeah, I almost worry about an Indiana letdown just
Mhm.
because and the main thing about that is I know Indiana's good,
Yes.
but can we trust them? And you just haven't seen them in that spot. You've seen Ohio State here multiple times, and that defense is really good. I think they're giving up something like 8.5 points per game.
Yeah, they're good. They're really good.
So I'm probably leaning towards the Ohio State, but man, that's going to be a great game to watch.
Well, I'm gonna be on the opposite side of you on this one, man, because like you said, you haven't seen them in Indiana in this spot a lot, but they started this in this spot last year. They only lost 1, 2 times last year. They got into the dance and then they immediately lost because they were kind of in over their head. But Coach Signetti, when he took over them Hoosiers, they just look different. And as he said before, Google him, he fucking beats people. I like their chances against Ohio State because Ohio State, their biggest level of competition was Texas. They've played some decent teams. They dominated Michigan, finally getting that monkey off their back. But I just like the Hoosiers in this game, man. I like Signetti to take them down to Lucas Oil and defend their home state turf and beat the Ohio State Buckeyes in a close one. I even see overtime for this game, man. But we shall see. Coming up in the lesser two of the conference games, you got Tulane taking on North Texas. Well, do you know anything about this one? Do you got any eyes on it?
I'm not going to try to pretend I have nothing in this game. I have no clue. Uh, I have no clue. I'm just going to sit out on this one. I don't have any clue about this game. I wish they'd take this conference out of it because I don't. I think everybody else is heads above them. I would. I would way rather see them put Texas in that spot than them because they won a conference championship. They just. I hate to do this. Hate to do this, but they don't belong in this playoff picture, especially over a Texas team with multiple top 10 wins. I'm just not. I'm not interested.
It's a problem that they got to fix. I'm interested because, like I said, I know some people who I used to communicate with in Lubbock who's got some kids on North Texas. So just for their sake, I'm riding with the Big Green down in North Texas, man. Let's see if they can get it done. Because it's hard to say, like, well, shit, they'd be 12-1. They won that conference that we value, so put them in and let's see what they got. Lastly, in the monkey wrench game of all monkey wrench games, the ACC championship between Virginia and Duke. What do you see happening in that game? Like I said, Duke has 5 losses, but they play in their conference very well. Virginia has kind of just held on and stayed quiet in the background, even though they've kind of, I believe they've gotten a new coach recently. They have a committee that runs everything down there instead with their AD. What do you like? Do you think Duke can throw the final monkey wrench into this whole CFP bracket and win this, or do you think Virginia's going to hold on and take on A&M?
I think Virginia holds on, and that's another one that I don't think either one of them probably belong, but just because of conference championships, it'd be a better story if Duke won. But I see Virginia winning. I don't think Duke is very good. I've watched some of them. I just don't think they're very good, and so I kind of see Virginia holding on, winning that, and probably get destroyed by A&M. Whoever wins that's probably going to get beat by A&M.
Yep, probably gonna get beat bad. But I'm going for
Yeah,
Duke, baby. I'm pulling for the 5 loss Duke. All their wins come in conference. I want them to throw that last monkey wrench in so that way we can see the Texas Longhorns once again make their way into the college football playoff as a solid argument, like you said. They've got 3 top 10 wins in the nation, which is the most. They've played the most top 10 teams. Hard to argue why they shouldn't make it. I know the situation that happened with Alabama happened. But we shall see, man. Like I said, it's conference championship week. We're going to see this next bracket on Tuesday. We're going to see what happens with the rest of the way after these conference championships. But to wrap it up, real quick on these quick couple notes, bro. In the halftime game of the Cowboys game against the Chiefs on CBS, Dana White popped on our TV and announced the UFC 324, which is the first card on Paramount Plus for their first PLE because pay per view is finally dead almost. Come on, boxing. I know you're hearing me. Justin Gaethje and Patty Pimblett were headlining with a interim lightweight strap because the champion, man, I'm blanking on his name. Excuse me. But yeah, he tweeted out that he's having some family difficulties. He needs to handle something, so he's not going to be in the fight game for a little while. He will come back and take on the winner. For the hardcores out there, we're not going to talk about why Arman should be fighting Pimlet or Gaethje. We know why Dana White did this. You got to put your best foot forward on a new platform. They did it for Spike. They did it for Fox. They did it for ESPN, and they're doing it on Paramount Plus. The co-main event will be Kayla Harrison taking on the GOAT, Amanda Nunez, for the bantamweight strap. Then you got Sean O'Malley taking on Song Yadong. Derek Lewis has been there with a heavyweight clash. And along with Thug Rose Namajunas taking on Alexa Grasso, and Umar Nurmagomedov takes on Davison Figueiredo. Justin, was this enough of name value for you to get on Paramount Plus and watch this card?
Absolutely. Love this card. Absolutely love this card. And my favorite fight is the co-main. Love that co-main fight.
Right.
That Patty Pimblett and Justin Gaethje fight is just going to be that's just we know why that fight is, Kelly, because that's just a banger. That's just violence. What people want to see. There's not going to be that Patty Pimblett fight. There's not going to be any strategic wrestling. That's just going to be a stand and bang kind of fight. You always love Thug Rose, one of my favorite fighters, women fighters of all time. Derek Lewis, most knockouts ever. But like I said, for me, I've been eyeing that Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunez fight. Kayla Harrison is really good,
Yeah.
and Amanda's been kind of out. But I don't know if Kayla's faced anybody her size exactly, and Amanda Nunez can size up with anybody.
Well, not only that, Kayla Harrison, like you talking about people sizing up somebody her size, bro. This is not her size, bro. She was fighting at like 150 in the PFL and Bellator, and she made her way down to bantamweight, which is about 135. So the fact that she can shrink down to that size and come back up and get into that weight class and become the champion is crazy. Amanda Nunez is the female GOAT of the UFC. It's gonna be interesting, bro, because she has been off. You've seen her stumble, but and Kayla Harrison can fight, but can she outfight the dominant champ? Ilya Taporia, the lightweight champion, is the one I was speaking of. Why he's not fighting? Like I said, he's got some family issues. People are wondering why Arman isn't fighting for that. Is because nobody knows him. He doesn't speak any English. But that being alongside Gaethje, I like Patty Pimblett in this fight against Gaethje because Gaethje has had retirement on his mind for too long. And
I do
you
too.
athletes that go into fights like this against somebody younger, you're taking on, you've been stopped a couple times, beat up a few times. You're that guy that's stuck in that forever number one contender position where you can't really win that big one. Kind of like where Dustin Poirier was at, kind of like where Chandler was at. Alexander Gustafsson was always in that position. It's just there's people in the history of the UFC that have been stuck that way. And once you get retirement on your mind, I got to question if your mind, heart, body, and soul are really, really into this training camp, into this fight. But I agree with you, bro. I'm glad pay per view is dead. This is something I'm gonna sit down and watch because it is, like I work in my job. They give us Paramount Plus for free. It's a PLE. I'll upgrade my subscription a couple bucks to get it and watch it. Should be a good card, man, front to back. And Dana White has also stated that these cards are going to go back to starting earlier, like they did for ESPN Plus. So the card will start at 8 instead of 9. So hopefully we'll be out of there before midnight, man. But that is everything for today. That is the show. Justin, appreciate the talk, man. Appreciate you coming on. We will try to do a second show this week. I want to say as the conference championships finish, we'll see what goes on. There's a decent paper boxing card this Saturday that I should be talking about soon. Other than that, man, final thoughts from Thanksgiving weekend, man. What did you think? How did you think of the whole weekend?
Great Thanksgiving, great football, a lot of good games, a lot of crazy things happening. Excited. This is that time of the year, especially in football, that like you've always said, it's time to start doing math.
Mm-hmm.
So we should be able to have loads to talk about going forward. Um, Love that my Cowboys are hot. The Texans and the Cowboys, to me, one of the best parts of this later parts of the year. Two slowest starters, getting hot, kind of throwing a monkey wrench for everybody. So I'm really excited.
Absolutely, man. Next time we're on, we'll get on the ESPN website. We'll play with the playoff predictor where you can pick and win, where you can pick who wins and loses and how that affects the standings. But until next time, I am Matt Garces with Talking About with Matt Garces here live on YouTube. Don't forget to follow us. We're talking about sports. We're talking about wrestling. Matt Garces on Twitch, Talking About with Matt Garces on YouTube. See you guys next time.